Hello everyone, welcome back. It's me, your girl Jess. I know I've been away. It's been a long time, but I'm so happy to be here again with you. I had school, work, life come between my time and this place. But I'm back and I'm going to do everything I can to be here as often as possible. I am on a break from school right now, so I have a little time over the next few weeks that I would love to spend with some of it with you guys. So hopefully I'll be here with a few different topics to talk about, and we can have our time together. Excuse my little dog, Soda Pop Sandy, in the background. She's just going to be running around, hopefully not barking or anything. But, yes, how you been? I've missed you guys, and I think of you often. I think of the channel often, and really happy to be back in the space with you guys. Excuse me, I feel a little bit disheveled this morning, but still here. Okay, so I'm on this tip right now. Like, all of you know that I have like a real affinity for Egyptian history, lore, and everything, all things Egyptian. So I have actually come upon this book called The Compendium to the Emerald Tablets by Billy Carson. And I would love to discuss this with you guys and hear what you have to say in reference to this book. And if any of you have read it, please comment below and interface with me here, because I don't have a whole lot of space to do so, and so I'm bringing it to you guys. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with who Thoth actually is. He was supposedly the son of Enki, the Sumerian god. Enki and Enlil came and, were the purveyors of human life as it is now on the planet, according to the Sumerians. And they came and they created humanity as it is from other worlds. Now, to me, we're still on the fence. I'm still on the fence. Does other world mean other planet? Does it mean another dimension? Because, there are a proven number of dimensions. In order for one to exist, I believe it's like 14 or something to that effect, must also exist simultaneously. So we experience the 3D, and we, I think, have access to the 4 and 5D according to our practices and what we do. So all of this is still up for determination and discussion, so let's discuss it. So Billy Carson, the author, is an amazing guy. He's actually done his due diligence, been to Egypt many, many times, is a respected person in Egypt for speaking the truth about certain things that the Egyptians themselves are not allowed to speak. He leads a yearly mission or journey to Egypt, and taking people to all these sacred spaces and talking to them. It's something I would love to do, but it's a little costly. Like the 10-day, which you're going to fly for a couple of days. I think there's like a 3 or 4 day and then a 10-day trip. And of course, if I'm going to do it, I want to do the 10, but it's about $8,000, which unfortunately I don't have, at least at this time. So I'm still trying to manifest my way there, with or without Bill. But anyhow, he's a very, very, very smart man, and he has done his diligence. So that I do not question, and I respect him greatly. But I do want to discuss more about, kind of what he does in this book, which is he breaks down the Emerald Tablets, and he then, sort of discusses what he thinks Thoth means with this poetry that he's, laid out in these tablets. Now, the first thing I want to do is talk about, so Thoth is the son of of Inky, and together they supposedly built Atlantis. So, to me, some people still question whether Atlantis existed. I don't. To me, I think it's pretty evident that it has, and probably is now under the sea somewhere. So, apparently they came and they created this place where there was lots of knowledge and technology based on information from other planets and existences outside of the one we are in here. So it was probably pretty amazing, but is no longer. And when Atlantis was destroyed, then Thoth went out and started teaching the knowledge and the technology and all the things that, mathematics, music, writing, many of the things that were procured there in Atlantis. And he is called the thrice-born. I mean, actually Hermes the thrice-born. But so the idea is that Thoth can actually will himself from body to body, not needing to have a natural course of unknown death, wherein then his soul enters the guff to prepare itself to return and forget everything. So apparently what he says is that you can will yourself from one body into the next while maintaining the memory of the previous body. Amazing. Imagine if this great hoax that is death placed upon us by the governments and the religious structures and institutions that love to monger fear in order to provide their bought solution, which controls us in some way and dictates how we live our lives and what we do and how we believe that affects us in the bigger picture. So if we didn't have any of that to worry about and we knew the truth of our soul's path and journey, would anyone buy into all that? Would government have control? Would religious factions have control? And I mean, don't get me wrong. I believe that each religion has its own validity. I believe that, there has been a number of events on planet Earth wherein the divine presents itself and teaches the people in that place on the planet at that time in relevance to what the experience that they're having to teach us something about ourselves, to give us some clues, to give us a little bit of a guidebook. But then I also believe that information is taken and basically raped by the societal need, by, the power, the need of those in power to remain in power and to then have power over us through that information. So we're given bits and pieces to serve our soul's understanding, to serve our intuitive value of who we are, and what we're doing here, which still kind of remains latent within us. So they give us these little pieces that will ring as truth because it's a part of the truth. And through that, they're able to implore us as humans to work for them. It's real. For all we know, death is the greatest hoax to ever been played upon us. And that we do have effervescent souls that live for an eternal, time. Now, in my mind, I see it very clearly as when we are first born on this planet, we are a seed of light. All creation is of light, of this web, of this flower of life. And each time we come here, we are given opportunities to grow and expand within ourselves, the light. And at some point, we expand enough to join creative force and become one with God, right? Or goddess, or universe, whatever word you want to put on it. It's the same, however you describe it. It is that of many, many descriptions and words and titles. But there is the creative force, right? So, most everyone can agree upon that unless they don't believe at all. So, what if we understood all of that? What if we didn't forget? And we could come here and utilize with intention our historical understanding as well as what we're here to do, and base our decisions and understanding of the world on that. Now, pros and cons, yes. I mean, I understand how actually the idea of forgetting actually helps us be authentic to some degree, to seek and find spirit in every lifetime, to find the light, to choose the light with our lives. So, I don't know, maybe it's all part of the plan, right? Until we get to a certain point. Now, what Billy's saying is that we do get, and that Thoth was communicating, that at some point, once we become masters, we can will ourselves. And so Thoth, thrice born, Thoth, Quetzalcoatl of the Mesoamerican gods structure, as well as Hermes of the Greek belief, is all, basically the same soul, willing himself, walking from body to body, walking into the next body by choice, holding the memory of the prior lifetime. And at that time, it's said that humans, before we were, tinkered with to some degree genetically, we could live very long lifetimes, so hundreds to thousands of years. So, within those 3 lifetimes, he was able to influence the planet in a way that had great longevity and was building upon itself through these personalities. So basically, now, if you don't know a lot about the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, go ahead. If you have the money, purchase this book. I'm not here to sell it for Bill in any way. But there's some really good information. He breaks it down and he gives his perspective of what Thoth was saying in a layman or modern man term. Now, I can agree and disagree with so much of the information that he is putting forth. Now, the Emerald Tablets themselves are not to be found physically on this planet at this time. Probably the Catholic Church has them in some vault somewhere because, they would be an antithesis to the church itself and what it teaches. So, wouldn't be surprised if they actually do possess the true tablets. I've also, read that the gypsies actually have a foundation in Egyptian mystery schools of ancient times, and that, they travel, and that their leaders travel in possession of these tablets. And I could see that as a very real possibility. But we don't have these tablets. And so the Emerald Tablet of Hermes is sort of a concise expression of the Emerald Tablets from my perspective of Thoth. And supposedly they were found in I think a South American pyramid by one of the early purveyors of the spiritualist movement. And I mean, if you are familiar with the spiritualist movement, then you know that there has been quite a bit of trickery involved. The 2 sisters that started it, they ended up admitting they were lying and stuff. But I believe in mediumship. I believe in the tenets of this belief system. So I'm not trying to front on it. I think inevitably it has validity. But to just have this guy say that he was guided by Thoth, which I do think is possible, absolutely, and may in the future share my own experience with that. I actually came to the idea and understanding of Thoth through direct guidance and vision before I had any idea who he was. He came to me in a vision and told me that he was guiding me and that I needed to understand and know and speak his name. And at the time, I was not interested in knowing the names of any of my guides because I don't like it when people stand on the infamy of their guides to be able to be like, oh, I'm guided by Archangel Michael or whoever, and actually stand on that platform as validation for their human existence. I don't like that. So I was just like, just teach me your language. I don't need to know your name. And in this vision, he was like, you will know my name, and you will learn and speak of me. And so this was many years ago, prior to the loss of 3 very important people in my life. And on the flip side, I fully understand it. But so I'm not saying it's not possible for that to happen. It is, I believe, possible. It's just that we don't have, he never brought forth the tablets he just interpreted them. And they were in a language that is an unearthed language. So he was like in an intuitive space, interpreting them. So that also leaves it up to, up for like discussion, right? So basically, we don't even know anything about any of this. I mean, it could just, even if it were just a text for learning, I can kind of accept it as that. So anyhow, Bill is in the camp of the ancient aliens. So what he is bringing forth in some of this, especially in the early part of the tablets, toward the later part and some of the later tablets, he really brings forth a lot of really cool energy, sacred geometry, and ideas that kind of go beyond these initial concepts. But in the beginning, it's a lot about how the possibility of Jesus being Thoth, and the idea that he was in possession and speaking of all this great advanced technology that we couldn't even fathom at this time, or could barely maybe tip the iceberg. Now, Jesus and Thoth, I don't know. I mean, do I think that it's possible that Jesus was, and I think it's in a lot of occulted knowledge that Jesus was participant in Egyptian mystery school, as well as Tibetan and, Indian philosophies of ancient times, and went and traveled between the time of like 12 and 30 to learn these things, and then come back with a concise, comprised expression to try to teach to us as the truth, historical truth of humanity and who we are here. So, I mean, and there's people who will challenge whether Jesus even existed, just like Thoth and Shiva, and just, we really don't know. There are so many lies to weed out amongst the truth, and they've done this again on purpose to ensure that they are able to provide a provision of solution to the fear created by splintered truths. So anyhow, I have a little bit of an issue with the way that Bill wants to create this premise that a lot of this was talking, that Thoth's poetry was speaking to technology and all these things, because then that kind of removes it from us still. I believe that he's speaking of things that we can do, that our body is the technology. Our souls are the technology. Our hearts, our energy body. That there are great possibilities within us if we seek them, if we believe in them, if we follow the light, if we follow our third eye, and learn the vision, how to receive the vision of it, and follow that whole and open-heartedly. So it seems to be counterintuitive to say, oh, it's just all this aliens and, technology that he's speaking of. And, like I said, I don't know, maybe it was, but, and I'm not countering that aliens have come or otherworldly, I don't like the word aliens really, but otherworldly beings have come here and participated in our existence somehow. That's possible. I mean, to assume that we're the only sentient beings in a universe that we can not even chart. I mean, we send satellites out to send back pictures, but I mean, there's so much we don't even know, like dark matter. I mean, dark matter they don't really know what's going on there, but they know it's there. So to me, I feel like with astronomy, we may have even come backward. Looking into the buildings and all the things, I mean, there does seem to be a level of technology, or at least astronomical knowledge of the ancients that we do not possess now. We don't even know how they built the pyramids. Okay, so so I'm not discounting that there could have been an element of technology involved, and perhaps otherworldly, extraterrestrial beings from other planets coming here. But I mean, I feel like they probably have a dimensional portal of some sort, like that, the speed of light and all this stuff, and superseding the speed of light in order to be able to travel, and everything that they assume right now about what it would take seems to me like it would probably be more of a dimensional travel, like the Bermuda Triangle style. But, who am I? I'm just pulling logic and trying to understand like anyone else. So what I want from you guys is look into this. If you don't have this book and you're interested, grab it. I really would love to discuss this. Like I said, I do respect Bill and his perspective, but I think it's cutting our nose off to spite our face in a lot of ways to attribute some of these things to technology and aliens, when really I think it has to do with who we are, and exploring the possibilities within each and every one of us, should we believe and understand in it. And should we, find a sense of unity with each other without judgment, without, limitations, and say, we don't know who we are. We don't know where we came from. We have all this lore and this like religion and a little bit of science. I mean, because science is always trumping itself. Like it's always like proving itself wrong and expanding, So even science can't be the end all. But I think we have the opportunity with the internet, with this ability to unify for the first time that we know of. Okay, now maybe at some point in the past, humans were unified globally. But we now have this opportunity through the internet to unify globally, to learn and share with each other in a way that we never have. Your experience, my experience, and this guy over here that's another part of the world that neither of us have ever been. Let's do that. Let's do the best we can to do that. Let's use the internet as the hammer that builds a house, not the hammer that bashes heads. You know what I mean? Like, you always have a choice in what you're going to do with the tools provided to you. Let's grow. Let's discover ourselves. Let's advance forward so the next generations can pick that torch up and run. And maybe one day, in the near future, not the far future, before we fall, we can become one. We can become free and learn who we are as humans. Let's do that. Okay? I don't know. I'm just a girl in the world. But it's like, I'm interested. I want to have our generation not leave a legacy of destruction of the earth, of each other, and submission to these power mongering political structures, and even some religious structures who ask us to lose ourselves for them, for their power, so they can continue their legacy of control. Let's abolish that. Let's find the way. And maybe it's a little bit further out than our lifetimes, but we can leave the proper pieces for the next generations, right? All right, so yeah, check out this book again. If it's something that you are into, just or if you're even just understanding of the Emerald Tablets, share with me. Comment below. What do you think Thoth is saying? What do you think his message to us from a far distant, place on the timeline? And of course, all things are happening at all time, on different dimensional realities. And, there is a collapsing of the timelines and everything is in the now and all of that concept. So sure. But what was he saying to us? What is it that we need to learn about the journey between lifetimes and reincarnation, which many Eastern philosophies and ancient, religious belief systems do not deny? reincarnation. I mean, it actually is pretty logical. And because energy cannot die. It's even said that Jesus was teaching it, which it makes sense if he was going from the Egyptian, Tibetan, and Indian source knowledge, that he was teaching that, and that it was just cut out by some king somewhere who wanted to have control and make everyone believe that this is the one shot you've got, you better listen to me or you're going to burn in the eternal fires of hell. I mean, I don't know. Comment down below. Tell me what you know. I'd love to hear it. And thank you guys so much for joining me and listening to this whole thing. But I appreciate you. Thank you for caring. Thank you for sharing and for being here to try to do our best on this planet that we can. I'll be back soon. Until then, take care of yourself and each other, and we'll talk again. Bye.